And hold on here, because we're going to fire things up here.
Fire it up.
Yeah. It's Thursday, November 15th, Friday, November 16th, if you're on the East Coast or across the pond. And this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you had a great day and night. I am your host, Dave Scott, broadcasting to you live from the Great White North, on top of the mountains of central British Columbia, right here at SOR headquarters. We welcome you nightly on the SOR Radio Network and Deep Talk Radio. And if you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You could rock out to Bumblefoot. Soon, shop at our brand new Spaced Out Radio store. Read up on the SOR Newswire put together by Captain Shirk, and so much more. Tonight's show is brought to you by the YouTube channel Ensuho. Sebastian Martin brings high-quality messages to the masses. Go to spacedoutradio.com, click on the Ensuho banner, and subscribe to the channel today. Stephen Bassett, creator of the Paradigm Research Group, doesn't really care who brings disclosure forward as long as it comes out. For the last 25-plus years, Stephen has been lobbying politicians in Washington, D.C., and dedicated his life to bringing forward what the United States and the world governments know about UFOs. His mantra has always been that the people of this planet have a right to know if we are alone in the universe or not. Whether it's Tom DeLonge's To the Stars or a rogue politician like Trump or Putin, Bassett doesn't care. He just wants life's biggest story out in the public. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, we have Olaf Phillips from Paranoia Magazine coming in for the SOR Newswire. Mr. Stephen Bassett, it's been a few months since we had you on the show. How you been doing, my friend?
Hanging out down here in the U.S., just trying to keep up with the craziness, try to keep sane, take an occasional Xanax, get sleep, eat my vegetables until the storm passes. That's what's going on.
Well, it sounds like you're enjoying yourself. Every conference I look at that comes across my way, you're speaking at it. Are you tired of speaking at all these conferences or what?
Well, I have no excuse to be tired. But I did, I think, do 16 this year. About 27, 8, 9 lectures, maybe 30 lectures. I just finished with Alien Con. I'm done for the year, I think. I did Alien Con in Baltimore. That's their third one. That's the conference that is built kind of on top of Ancient Aliens, yes, and backed by A&E Channel, History Channel.
Yes.
They had 8,000 tickets, 8,000 attendees. There was 10,000 in Pasadena, 5,000 in San Francisco. Alien Con is next scheduled to go back to California, assuming it hasn't burned down, and be in the huge Los Angeles Convention Center next spring. So the issue marches on. The conferences get bigger, better, larger, which tells you something. It tells you things are coming to a head.
Stephen, you know, out of all the times we've talked, and you've been on this show now 5 or 6 times over the course of the 4-year history of this show, I've never asked you this simple question. Why did you get into this? Did you have your own UFO experience, or was this just a topic that amazed you that you wanted to know more?
It was, no, I've never had an experience of any kind. No, ghosts, what do you call it? Telekinesis, poltergeist, none of that. But when I was a kid, I read a lot of sci-fi. I like science fiction. And that was the golden age of science fiction for many people. The 50s, Heinlein, certainly Asimov and others. And that fascinated me. Not surprisingly, I leaned towards science, so I was pretty good in science and math. Ended up going to Georgia Tech, ultimately getting a degree in physics. So my mindset is in that world. And so I liked outer space, intrigued me. If things had gone differently way back then, I would have probably ended up as a astrophysicist, but I would have been a pretty average astrophysicist. Not fair. So I'm in that mindset. But then life takes you other places. Sometimes it takes you down into the valleys. And I didn't really – I struggled for years and years and years because I just didn't know what to do with myself, to be honest. Plus, I got caught up in the politics and the wars and all that stuff. So when at the age of 49 in 95, when I'm sort of facing midlife crisis, what's the meaning of life, what are you going to do, time is short, that kind of thing, I simply had to make an intellectual decision. What do I want to do? What do I want to try to use the rest of my life for? And I leaned into this issue. I was affected by circumstances at the time. There were certain books that had come out, and I read them. And the one that affected me maybe the most was John Mack's book, which came out in 94, I think, called Abduction, Human Encounters with Aliens. That was a very significant book. And there were a few others. So I got this idea that, like, what if I volunteered to go work for Mack's research operation in Boston area as a volunteer, and what a way to maybe get into it and see what was going on and find out. And I was able to persuade them to let me do that. I was in California. So I drove across country and went up to the Boston area and got a place and volunteered and worked at the Program for Extraordinary Experience Research. And again, this is 96, early 96, and the contact subject is just getting heated up. It had been developing for a while. And of course, the contact area is extremely interesting. We're talking not about I see a light in the sky, but I see an ET in my bedroom. So it was intense. And it was an interesting time, but it wasn't a fit for me. So I was there as a volunteer 4 months, and I came up with the idea. It just struck me that the problem with this whole thing was not science. It wasn't about evidence. It wasn't about getting everything down on paper and proving anything. That it had already been proven. The problem was political. It's a political problem. There was an embargo on, which people used to call the UFO cover-up, which I then called the truth embargo, because it's not really a cover-up. And it was like the embargo on Cuba. Cuba was there, but you couldn't go there. And why couldn't you go there? Because the government said you couldn't. And that we weren't going to get to the bottom of this until the government finally admitted that, there is an extraterrestrial presence. And I'd lived in and out of Washington for years in that area. I knew it. And I had family. And I said, they came up with this idea. I said, I'm going to go to Washington. I'm going to move into the house where one of my family lived and register as a lobbyist on the issue of extraterrestrial presence. And I was pretty sure that I'd be the first person to ever do so. And if that happened, which did, it would inevitably attract media attention. And then my challenge would be to respond to that media attention in such a way that I got the point across and was just not undermined. And that would be a cool thing. That's what I did. Headed down there, registered, and about 8-9 months after I registered, Washington Post came out and interviewed me, put a huge article on the front page of the business section. And that was in 1997. And off we went. And it was just one of those things. It could have fallen apart. If it had fallen apart, I I'll tell you, I don't think things would have gone well for me. But it turned out to be an extraordinarily fortunate decision on my part, best I ever made. And now I'm in my 22nd year and deeply involved in what will ultimately be the most profound event in human history, and that is the formal acknowledgement, the confirmation by governments around the world, starting with a government, probably the U.S., that we have an ET presence. And hello, how you doing? Then it'll be what the people and the governments of the world decide to do about that, and how much is going to be told, and what are we going to learn, and then what are we going to do? And that is the disclosure event. That is what is meant by disclosure, as in the movement. Capital D, disclosure. Confirmation by the government. Embargo off, as that was a saying by that character in one of the movies. What was that? Australian movies. What were they? Mad Max. I think it was the second one. Thunderdome. And embargo off. He yells, right? So that's it. It's an intellectual thing. It's not. I don't even dream about ETs. I've been in this for 22 years. I've never had a dream about an ET or a saucer or a sighting or anything. It's not that I remember in 22 years, which is odd, and yet in some ways it makes sense.
That's an incredible story. And as you decided that you were going to be the first lobbyist towards UFO disclosure and ending the truth embargo in regards to the topic, the surrounding people around you had to think, Steve, you're nuts. You're crazy. Why would you waste your time with something so foolish when you're a smart guy and you could be doing something productive in their minds?
Well, that was the thing. There weren't any surrounding people. One of the reasons I was able to do this, my life had really not developed very well. There was no close friends. There was no family. Well, there was no my family, relationships, things like that, kids, obligations. I had not established myself anywhere. I had been free-floating for a long time. I was a military kid. We moved all the time, and after I left home, I kept moving all the time. That's not uncommon. I didn't have anything to lose, and that's one of the reasons no one had done what I had done. Most people just simply have too much to lose to get into something quite like that. They have jobs, they've got family, wives, kids, husbands, responsibilities, so you just can't become the first ET lobbyist. There's not going to be any money, and God knows where it's going to go. So I was perfectly suited for the job. So that wasn't a problem. And furthermore, I didn't get in until 96. And the worm had turned by then. The issue was in ascendance. The debunkers were in descendants. So the ridicule issue and so forth, the debunkery, was on the wane, and it wasn't too tough, really. I didn't have much of a problem. Plus, my attitude about it was very clear. Here's what's down. If you don't like it, fine. You want to ridicule me, you're going to lose because I'm right and you don't know what you're talking about. So I was pretty strong in that sense. And so nobody gave me much of a hard time. And I dealt with the journalist as if the issue was like anything else. I could have been a lobbyist for an anti-war movement group or a corporation. I called it normalization. In other words, the issue was real, important, and it should be dealt with in ways that you would expect. And there was no reason to act differently. And when you do that, it's more likely to, okay, all right. This has been my hallmark all along. Now, of course, as time has passed, as the ridicule has gotten less and less and less, you can hardly find a debunker anywhere on TV anymore. They very rarely post. I think most of them do know that whatever the reason, they were either wrong or they were working for the government and no longer getting paid or whatever. So that's fading. So I had a good time. I've got colleagues that go back 40 years, 50 years, or even 30 years, and they didn't have it so easy. They had a tough time because you're talking 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, brutal, 80s, brutal. I hope to God that they are able to stick around and be involved in the post-disclosure world and see their own vindication. Quite a few of my colleagues have not made it because this truth embargo is now in its, I guess you could say it's now in its 71st year, about to be 72nd year. It's a lifetime.
When you look back at everything, Steve, and I've seen you speak live, I've seen you speak on YouTube, other radio shows, what you have stated here, you don't care, and you're very public about this, who brings forward disclosure as long as it comes. Why do you not care who brings it out?
That is partially true. There are implications from who or which nation discloses first. Some of those implications are positive for the United States and some are negative. Some are a little more positive for the planet. Some are less positive. But this issue transcends all that. The issue of the presence of ETs transcends religion and politics and whatever folderol humans like to engage in. So ultimately, it's what's important is that we get this truth, that we get disclosure, because disclosure is extremely important, I think, right now. So in that sense, no, I don't care. But I do talk about the benefits. What is the difference between, say, the U.S. president disclosing and the Russian president disclosing, or the Chinese disclosing, or the ETs disclosing, or forcing disclosing, which they could do anytime they wanted to, and they've chosen not to. But I do. Another way to put it is, I think, my assessment is very clear, and I've stated it. Disclosure can happen soon enough. It is the one thing that could turn things around for a civilization of sentient beings that has reached a global level, facing a cascade of breaking points and paradigm shifts, which is simply not ready to deal with. And it's going to go badly for us, such as building atomic bombs and hydrogen bombs, 25,000 of them, actually. Who wouldn't know that wasn't going to end well? So, and that's not the only thing. So the ETs have been around for a long time, going back to ancient times. Shout out to Ancient Aliens, of which I'm an alumnus now, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, but they didn't show up in a massive way on a global scale in a high technology state until our circumstance until early 1947. And that was not an accident. They know what they're doing. Almost certainly the key trigger at that point was the hydrogen bomb, or the bombs, rather, atomic bombs dropped in Japan. So there's something very significant, complex, elaborate, unfolding, which we have been engaging both in the civilian sector and in the light, and also in the government sector and in the dark for 71 years. And much too long. It should have been resolved a lot long ago. But I think each circumstance, I think other planets have gone through this, each circumstance is different for on the planet at the point that ETs decide to engage them in a global way. So there are other planets that have gone through something similar to us. Obviously, you don't evolve out of the ocean and build rockets a few years later. It takes quite a while, billions of years, for a planetary biosphere to generate sentient life. A long, long time, and you slowly work to that point. But for every planet, bar a few that have ever gone through that cycle, there have been other civilizations near them that are interstellar. And so those planets get engaged. And at some point, there is a coming together, triggered probably by the stage of development that planet is in. And those points are going to differ. Ours is marked by the rapid development of nuclear weapons, extraordinary pace, the Cold War, the wars in general. I can't think we're average. I suspect we're above average in terms of being warlike amongst sentient, developed biospheres who really go at it. We're nasty. Boy, we are really brutal. And so that created a situation where we were on the verge of nuclear annihilation almost every day for 44 years. And many other things that contributed to the fact that this particular transition is in its 71st year, but will end very soon, I think. Perhaps other planets was more like 30 years or 25 years. So you have the ETs turn up, say, in 47, and we've got disclosure by 72. This is the way to think about it. But disclosure in this case is inevitable unless the ETs completely pull up stakes and leave. All of them. And do nothing to keep this thing in play. And I see absolutely no sign of that. So this is a complex thing. It's hard to get much more complex than this, which is why it's very difficult to give simple answers to anyone, particularly people that don't know much about this, about what's going on. This is not about UFOs. Hasn't been for a long time. This is about extraterrestrials. And this isn't about science at this point. It's about politics. And it's really not about aliens. It's really about extraterrestrials. That's the phrase to use. And we're dealing with an embargo, not a cover-up, and so forth. I'm talking the language of exopolitics, the language of the advocacy movement. Because most advocacy movements, in order to succeed, have got to create appropriate language. And they have to dispense with the language of propaganda that is being used to push back against the public's interests. All propagandists define terms that serve the government, serve the state, serve the propagandists. And so language is key. That's what 1984 was talking about. Orwell, when you talk about newspeak, love is hate, war is peace, that kind of thing. That's an extreme example of using that language. And so one of the things I've done is work to create the language of disclosure as opposed to the language of embargo.
Steve, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We're going to go to a break here at the bottom of the hour. Stephen Bassett is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We are talking disclosure, UFO timelines, who discloses, who doesn't. We're going to get more from Stephen right after this. His website, ParadigmResearchGroup.org. ParadigmResearchGroup.org. We'll be back with more right after this on Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you with us. We're joined by Stephen Bassett, head of the Paradigm Research Group, talking disclosure tonight. Stephen, welcome back to the show.
Great to be with you, Dave. And all of my friends in Canada. I love Canada. I've been up there many times. If I could marry a Canadian woman, let me send them proposals because I'm ready. There's a lot of good things up there.
You know what? You got to hit up Tracy Garbett, Richard Dolan's wife. She's from Vancouver. She has friends. I thought you said hit her up. Yeah, right. That would be awkward. I already have. I have made it quite clear to Tracy that I if she's got sisters, let's talk, whatever. I've already gone down that road. I'll do some looking up here for you. So if you are Canadian, single, does it matter East Coast or West Coast? Because I know you're West Coast right now.
No. So we just need to, hit it off and fall in love. And that way I'll have dual citizenship and I'll end up living in Canada. It's only a matter of time. The U.S. keeps screwing up the way it does. It's inevitable. I'll probably live in Canada. Some nice, safe place with a nice view and just look down upon the slowly composting heap that the United States is trying to become. Let us hope that it doesn't do that. But I've been watching this country go to hell since 1964 with a mixture of surprise, empathy, disgust. But let's face it, the world is old. 10,000 years of civilization, all kinds of kingdoms and empires and democracies, dictatorships have come and gone, rose and fallen. The U.S. is not absolutely immune from any of that. And so right now we're coming apart. It's a drag. Prefer that we were getting it together.
Well, you know what? You bring up a good point with the political upheaval that seems to be happening in the United States. And even though you don't see it, there's a lot of it happening up here in Canada too. Is that maybe the reason? But is that maybe a reason why the government isn't looking at disclosure as seriously as it possibly could if they were running a cleaner ship?
Are you talking about our government or your government?
Well, let's start with yours.
Well, yeah, there is a lot of broad spectrum dysfunction down here, which frankly makes it not everything hard. Disclosure, more difficult. Fixing a bridge, more difficult. Having enough firefighting resources in California so it doesn't burn down, more difficult. Health system, more difficult. So, yeah, it's kind of like it was a lot more difficult to set up a business during the gangster era in Chicago. So yeah, things don't work. If your car's got 2 flat tires and 2 pistons not working, and the oil's low and whatever else, the car just doesn't go very well. Nothing complicated about that. And if the engine season's up, it's useless. Well, we've been on the verge of our engine season up down here. And when I spoke up in Canada on that four-city tour that I did a couple years ago, I tried to make the point as best I could to my wonderful Canadian friends that the Canadian ship state, which is not as big as the U.S. ship state, sits in harbor, chained to the U.S. by titanium chains. And if the U.S. were to sink, if the U.S. ship state were to sink, guess what? It's going to take Canada right down with it. So Canada has a vested interest in the U.S. not completely falling apart, which means, and I believe the disclosure is one of the few things that could turn things around. Therefore, I was suggesting that Canadian people get more involved and support the disclosure movement with funds, with whatever they could do. And some have, believe me. But as it happens, Canada, which, aside from the fact that it did invade Michigan during the War of 1812, but it gave it back, has been our good friend for a very long time and very much connected to us. So when the truth embargo began in the late 1940s, Canada just totally was on board and cooperated with the U.S. government in ways that we don't know and may never know. But I do know this, that back in 1940s and 1950s, Canada was a whole lot of land with not many people, huge unpopulated areas, absolutely perfect to create some labs, do some secret work, or whatever. And I have a feeling that Canada was cooperative in that regard, and essentially was brought in to the truth embargo and the engagement of the ET issue in the black world pretty early. And for that reason, it's kind of stuck. It's just very, very awkward for them to suddenly decide that they're going to be the country that's going to challenge the United States. And by and large, they go along with the United States and have, and it's by and large served them very well. And they have kept out of the wars very little, but since World War II certainly, but they've really kept out of our wars and had to spend a relatively modest on their military and defense, while we've spent untold trillions, and allowed to build a amazing country where people of a multicultural society has been able to do pretty well. And on the other hand, we have really struggled creating a very substantial lower class and a lot of poor people, while we have amazingly rich people. And there's a huge gap, which is going to create enormous tensions. And, of course, we're incredibly militaristic. So, again, this is why I want to marry a Canadian. I'm sorry. I know it's not perfect up there. I know some people have gripes and they're not happy, but believe me, trust me.
I already have one offer. It is north. It's not in Canada. It is in the state of Oregon. And that comes from my news lady, Captain Shirk.
Captain Shirk. Well, I guess Oregonian is a little bit in that direction. Maybe I'd have to marry her and have a relationship for a while, and then separate and jump from Oregon up to British Columbia. But
you are a step closer. She just comes with you. What the hell?
That's fine. But again, it's the citizenship, dude. It's all about the citizenship.
Oh yes,
get
true.
The citizenship. Canadians.
I'll sponsor you. How about that?
Well, that's a possibility. But as you may not know, but the number of people seeking refugee status from the United States has gone up.
Same here.
Asylum has gone up. Americans are trying to get up there. They're trying to flee what may be the sinking ship in their mind. This is not good. This is not a good look for us. There's not a lot of Canadians begging to get down here in order to flee the horrors of Canada, in order to live in the incredible United States, the bright, shining city on a hill. So there you go. This is aside from the realities. Look, for years I had an office in Washington area. I haven't had one for 21 years now. I've been moving around with supporters, essentially different places, being put up so that I could do what I do, because I don't have major funding. I don't have any income. And I entered this field with about 18 cents, literally hanging at 18 cents. So that was the point I was going to make. Oh, God, it slipped away. It slipped away I'll get it back. All back. Right. Oh, no, I know what it is. Okay. So back in those days when I had the office, I fitted out my office and the space where I was living by going to garage sales. And in Washington, D.C. suburbs and the suburbs of Maryland, particularly in Maryland, it was garage sale heaven, because you have all these diplomats and people that are assigned here. They make good money. They're living in nice places. And then they got reassigned, go back to their country. So they hold these yard sales where you can get great stuff. So I was getting pretty good stuff for not much money. I was at a garage sale and there was a sign. It's like 3-foot long plexiglass sign from a legendary video game. I picked it up for $5 and I took it home, and I kind of cleaned it up and used some black marking pens to tidy it up, make it look good. And I had it there in my office for years. It's in storage right now, and one day it'll be back out and in my office again. The video game, the legendary video game I'm referring to, is called Galaxian.
I remember that.
And so I have the Galaxian sign from the game, the plexiglass sign. It was on the side of those games that people used to play in the arcades. That was ancient times, wasn't it? And it was so cool. Very quickly I realized, yeah, that's what I am. I have felt alienated since I was in the womb. I have felt uncomfortable within the structures of society, whether it be states, cities, nations, and even the planet, to be honest with you, my whole life. And I realized I'm a Galaxian. That's my affiliation. I'm a member of this galaxy. And everything I've learned since then makes that more and more appropriate. So I don't have a passport, but one day I hope to.
Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
I want to get to some topics here with you, Steve, because when it comes to disclosure and the entire truth movement about UFOs, you mentioned earlier in the show that it's not about UFOs, it's about extraterrestrials. Yet the To the Stars campaign has been a complete 180 from what you were saying. They're saying it's not about extraterrestrials, it's about these UAPs. They don't even use the term UFO anymore. So where's the difference here?
Yeah, I get that. Let me clarify for you. First of all, your audience, I encourage them to go to the To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science website. Just Google To the Stars Academy. I have a huge amount of material about it on my website, which is paradigmresearchgroup.org. I have a whole section on it, 100 video clips. This is the cutting edge right now. This is the leading edge of the disclosure movement. It's in, what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of in suspension, but then a lot of stuff is in suspension in the U.S. right now, including my work. But I'm totally familiar with it. And it's a complex thing. And the way to answer your question is this. Now, again, some of your audience doesn't know the To the Stars Academy at all, so they're not going to get this. But it's okay. Consider it a teaser. the To the Stars Academy was launched in October 11th of 2017 as a way for the military intelligence complex, which is composed of all the 17 intelligence agencies, and we'll throw in some of the defense contractors or contractors working on black budgets projects like Lockheed, and we'll throw in NASA, or at least the black part of NASA. And it was an effort to get them a public position, establish a public position that shows them trying to help move toward disclosure. In other words, to show that after all these years that we are on your side. We're the good guys. We've been defending you, and there are many inside here, inside the I call it the MIIC, the MIC, the Military Intelligence Industrial Complex, that want the truth out too. But we really haven't done much in that regard. Mostly we've suppressed it, but we're showing you that we do care. And they launched this. They were able to do it because they've got enough inside people supporting them to create cover for them. The details of how they were able to pull this off are not known, but I hope eventually we do know. And they launched this organization, and it's made up of essentially people, all of whom have had high security clearances, have had careers inside the intelligence world or the research areas, including NASA Skunk Works and what have you. A lot of CIA people, some CIA people, DIA people, and what have you. So this has never happened before. There's never been something like this that has happened before. Nothing like it. And they simply launched into the world. The plan was not to launch in October of 17. It was to launch in November, December of 16. And the reason for that, and the reason that they even made this very, very tricky, difficult, and risky maneuver was that in early 2015, people over at the Pentagon and the CIA and elsewhere looked out their windows, and they saw two things which caught their attention in a big way. And that was, one, the election was getting underway, and there were all these articles turning up in the media about the connection between the leading candidate to be president, Secretary Hillary Clinton, and the ET issue. It never happened before. Hundreds of articles were being written about it in mainstream media, English language, and then a bunch of foreign, who knows how many foreign language articles. That had never happened before. And then they also saw that she or her husband or President Obama or John Podesta were giving interviews, careful, controlled interviews, and actually talking about this subject. That had never happened before in a political campaign. And they also noted that she was the leading candidate, practically the heir apparent to the White House. And they calculated correctly that for reasons we can get into, but that Secretary Hillary Clinton was going to win the White House, and she was going to disclose the extraterrestrial presence, probably within weeks, not a couple of months. It was slam, bam, thank you, ma'am. And that was going to be a problem for them because the military intelligence complex has been where the ET issue has been managed for 70 years. And the embargo has been based there, though it's been sanctioned politically a lot of that time. And they're going to be the villains. The politicians, the president, are going to be the great heroes, telling the world, yes, there's extraterrestrials here. And the people are going to go rushing over to the military intelligence complex and saying, you didn't tell us, you lied, you bastards. It'll be like a bad episode of South Park. And they're going to get all the crap, all the criticisms. And they didn't like that. They were going to be holding the bag. And so they decided they would preempt, or not preempt, but they would get out ahead of the issue. And it was pretty much a PR move, right? A public relations move on the part of the military intelligence complex to get ahead of the issue, so that when the announcement came, when the disclosure event was forced by the president, they would be in a better position. That was going on. Totally reasonable. That's what I would do if I were them. When she lost, the whole thing blew up.
Yes,
but
I remember you saying that.
Yeah, but they had a problem because it was kind of out. They hadn't launched it, but it had been put out there by Tom DeLonge, who was the civilian, I guess you could say, who was brought into this to be the front person, because a former CIA intelligence officer being the front person for this group would be awkward. He had already kind of talked about it without getting specific. It was kind of in play, and they couldn't put that toothpaste back in the tube. They just didn't know what to do. Ultimately, for reasons that I think I know somewhat about, they did launch anyway in October, approximately almost a year after the election, and came out. And they had a video that announced them, and they created a website, which is the one I referred to your audience, that they need to go look at very carefully in full detail, and so forth. Okay. Then they made their first major move by giving carefully considered interviews to the New York Times about some news, some significant stories that the New York Times vetted carefully, confirmed, and then wrote about. And two very historical articles on December the 16th of 2017. And we're off to the races, I guess you could say.
Steve, now, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because I do want to continue this timeline right afterwards, because it's real important, because going back to December 16th, up until now, what we've seen recently with the Sunspot Observatory, what we've seen with Oumuamua and the reports coming out of that, the Ireland sighting just a couple of days ago by 3 pilots, it really seems like we're on a real roll with UFOs and people talking about it, especially mainstream, and I want to get into that with you in the next hour. Stephen Bassett is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. He is the founder of the Paradigm Research Group. Go to the website, paradigmresearchgroup.org, if you want to check out all of his information, and make sure you sign up for it. Well worth it. Stephen Bassett will be back for hour number 2 right after this on the Mighty SOR.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio, you can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
Looking for the stories of the strange and weird that you will find hard to find anywhere else? Check out the SOR Newswire on our website. Our writers, led by Captain Shirk, are scouring the world for the oddest and most bizarre stories we can find. Everything from weird crime to suspenseful and paranormal. We're working hard for you to bring you the most intriguing news of your day. Check out the SOR Newswire at spacedoutradio.com today.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social media freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is Watching.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. Tomorrow night on the show, Gordon Lohr joins us to talk about the science behind UFO technology. We get going at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. We say hello to everyone listening in on the SOR Radio Network and Deep Talk Radio. Don't forget, all of our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do Old Navy the favor and hit that subscribe button. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Hemi Demi Semiquaver. I'm sure I butchered that. Hemi Demi Semiquaver is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets a password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot. Soon, shop at our brand new Spaced Out Radio store that's being built as we speak. And you can read up on the SOR Newswire put together by Captain Shirk as it's updated daily. Tonight we are talking disclosure, the UFO timeline. What is going on with everything? The man to talk to about this is Stephen Bassett, a lobbyist for UFO disclosure with Paradigm Research Group, which can be found at paradigmresearchgroup.org. Stephen, thank you so much for being with us. Glad to have you here.
Once again, let me gently remind your listeners that it is about extraterrestrial disclosure, not UFOs. UFO is a term that is of the truth embargo. It's essentially a propaganda term. Unidentified flying objects is a ludicrous concept, but it served its purpose, but it's on its way out the door. It's the disclosure of extraterrestrials. So I want to get back to responding to the point that you made about the To the Stars Academy initiative. Over the break, perhaps many of your listeners have maybe gone to the To the Stars Academy site and looked at some stuff. So the point that ultimately I'm making is this. What's going on with them is a carefully planned strategic maneuver that is very difficult. And in order for them to do it and maintain the support inside the Pentagon and the CIA that are backing them up, that are providing a space for them to do this, literally, they have to follow some rules. And the rules are, 1, you can't do anything illegal. You can't go rogue, which includes, obviously, releasing any classified material. So anything they release has got to be declassified. And 3, avoid using terms like extraterrestrial or UFOs or aliens. In other words, follow these rules, because otherwise it's going to create problems for us inside, and you're not going to be able to do what you do. But if you review what they have said and written, it's pretty clear that they're doing a Georgios ut locus. In other words, what they're saying is that we're not saying it's extraterrestrials, but it's extraterrestrials. And that's all I need. Right? They have all but said flat out there's an extraterrestrial presence. Now, somebody who did say flat out there was an extraterrestrial presence was a billionaire space entrepreneur by the name of Robert Bigelow, based in Las Vegas. Bigelow Aerospace. Made his money in real estate and hotels, worth a lot of money. Been involved in the ET issue for years. Goes all the way back to the Rockefeller Initiative. He was part of it. He was there. And in May, about 4 months before the To the Stars Academy was launched, Bigelow gave an interview to 60 Minutes, the longest running and most revered news magazine show in the United States. And he was being interviewed because his principal project that he's been working on, spending huge, about 390, how many millions he spent on it, under a contract with NASA that goes back to around 2000. Remember, a NASA contract. He's been developing flexible space habitats. Now, he's had dreams of hotels around the moon, things like that. But right now, he's developing these space habitats. They can be attached to modules and what have you that people can live in comfortably. And the first time this was going to be tested on the International Space Station, when it successfully was. So this is kind of a big deal for him and a good excuse for 60 Minutes to interview him. Now, this interview, Robert Bigelow, 60 Minutes, is on YouTube. You can find it easily. It's on my website. It's all over the internet. I encourage everybody to watch it that hasn't. And the way those interviews work, particularly at that level, high level, is that the subject is provided in advance, not questions, but the areas that they are going to ask about. There's nothing inappropriate about that. This way, the subject has some time to think about responses and so forth. They can have an intelligent interview. This is not gotcha journalism. But they don't get the questions. Now, almost certainly because of his involvement in this issue, including National Institute of Discovery Sciences, Skinwalker Ranch, his deals with MUFON, and so forth, clearly they were going to ask him about the, quote, UFO issue. So he knew that. He knew we would be asked about that. So he had plenty of time to decide how he would respond. And so they did the interview. Laura Logan was the correspondent. And they started out asking about his background and his company and Bigelow Aerospace and, of course, the NASA project. And which is always the case, the, quote, UFO questions came up at the very end. And when she got into that subject and poked him, he said directly that there is an extraterrestrial presence engaging the planet. And when she said, aren't you afraid people will think you're crazy? I'm paraphrasing. He said, I don't give a damn. And when she prodded him again by asking him, so do you think we should be looking for these extraterrestrials out there somewhere? And he said, you don't have to. They're already here. That's about as clear as it gets. On 60 Minutes, huge number of millions of people listening. A billionaire with an 18-year contract with NASA, still has it, just said there's extraterrestrials here. Now, in a normal time in the United States, that would have triggered a big story. But these aren't normal times in the United States. It's kind of a 10-ring circus down here with dancing elephants and skydiving donkeys and crazy people running around in the streets. So it had some impact, but again, it's weird. But interestingly enough, when 4 months later, the To the Stars Academy was announced, and then some stories were delivered to the New York Times. One of those stories was that one of the people in the To the Stars Academy team, Luis Elizondo, ran for a number of years a, quote, research program called the Advanced Aerospace or Advanced Aerial Threat initiative program, investigations program, ATIP, and that this organization got about $20 million and was set up at the behest of our Senate Majority Leader at the time, Harry Reid, very powerful man, that some of that money went to Robert Bigelow, who was part of the research. And the focus at Bigelow Aerospace was materials. They were providing materials to him, set up some special facilities. And these materials were, quote, allegedly come from those unidentified craft. So Bigelow, and it was Bigelow, by the way, that had kind of pushed or prodded or interested his friend, Harry Reid, to create this program. Now, he's not a member of the To the Stars Academy team, but he's connected. And so his statement 4 months prior, 6 months prior to the New York Times articles, 4 months prior to the launch of the TTS, was strategic. He was establishing, in other words, the To the Stars Academy team cannot say there's extraterrestrials here, but Bigelow, who's attached to that team, can, and he did in May of 2017. Now, most of your listeners are aware of this whole story. They're leading, well, the ones up in Canada are leading, relaxed, comfortable, productive lives up there. And things are relatively sane day to day. So they're not fully aware of all this. I am. And if they look at it in depth, they will start to see what's going on. And for this reason is why I believe that disclosure is close, depending upon if we can get things under control down here, which I think we're about to do. And so that's my answer. You have to look at it from a larger perspective, and you have to understand the context in which they're operating and what they're trying to achieve. And in that sense, they're achieving something quite remarkable.
Do you think that even though it is such a success on bringing it to the forefront, that the media has done a good job on the mainstream side of pushing this argument? Because this is the argument I have had with a lot of people is I don't think the media was ready. As someone who has worked in mainstream media for a decade, I think, I know, Stephen, that the attitude towards these type of topics in a newsroom is not politically motivated. It is ego motivated because a lot of news directors are fickle. They don't want their airtime wasted by what they feel are baloney stories like UFOs. And when this came out and To the Stars really gave them David Fravor, gave them Luis Elizondo, the media caught with their pants down just went with that. They didn't offer any other type of perspective. I didn't see interviews with you, Grant Cameron, Richard Dolan, Stanton Friedman, Linda Moulton Howe, George Norrie, or anybody who is a name in this field on any public network or any type of debate, which I thought was wrong of the media.
Well, I would have loved to have gotten in. They focused on a few people. And let me elaborate on that. The media didn't have their pants fully down, just partially down. If you go to paradigmresearchgroup.org and you go under resources and go to the print media archive, you will see there links to about 10,000 articles, mainstream media articles on this issue going back to 1947. But most of them are in the last 10 years. This is a fraction of the total number of articles that have been written on this subject in English language press. I don't know how many there are. I'm going to speculate 30,000. And then X number of thousand, maybe tens of thousands in foreign language media. So the media, and this is, again, mainstream media, not paranormal media, not fringe media. And one can browse those at their leisure, and various key events I usually highlight, and so I tag them. So the To the Stars Academy, for instance, announcement is tagged, and everything that's related to the To the Stars is tagged, and you can actually just focus on all of these. There's several hundred articles were written related to the To the Stars Academy initiative. I know, it's launching, and the articles in the New York Times and so forth, hundreds. No, they've been covering the issue up to a point. Now, that doesn't mean that, well, it's like anything else. Not all of the media is engaging in it, of course not. There's a whole sports media world out there that's not engaging in it at all. What's important is there engagement of this important issue by mainstream media? There is. They cover a lot of stuff, but they cover this. But they only go so far. And the To the Stars Academy challenged them because they took it to another place. And what's important is that the New York Times wrote those articles, made a big deal out of those articles, which showed that the New York Times has gone to another place. And again, to repeat, this would have been far bigger and the media would have gone far further, far deeper, were it not for the fact that we're in the middle of a political shitestorm down here. The caca has hit the fan, and it's chaos, and the media is barely keeping up with it. Every day is a new political story of some bizarre thing. And so the very fact that the ET story is the biggest story in human history makes it even more difficult for the media to turn away from this Force 5 hurricane we got going down here and try to engage this massive story. But the stage is set for the media to do just that when this storm has passed. And so that is the way to look. I don't care if there's some guy in a newsroom somewhere that thinks this is all baloney. What I care is that quite a few editors have green-lighted thousands of stories on this subject and have gotten close to getting really deep, but have always stayed back because the truth embargo is still in place. It's kind of like, imagine the media, well, they were covering Cuba. Now, this is kind of interesting. The media was covering, we couldn't go there, but the media could cover it. And so in a way, they're kind of covering it from a distance. Right.
Yeah, but they're not answering or asking the hard questions, though.
That would be going too far. Sure. Look,
it's what we call in the business softballs. They were so caught off guard by this being actually true. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it was Anderson Cooper, Tucker Carlson, or the New York Times. They were asking softball questions. Yes,
but that's fine. Again, to ask hardball questions would mean that you're really going to engage this issue in a deep way, which if they did would force disclosure out in short order. So they have to play it carefully. And a perfect example of that is, you're right, most of the known people in what we'll call the UFO ET ghetto, which is what it is, were not dealt with. And in fact, I know this for a fact. They had a problem right away, is that they were very concerned about engaging this ghetto, the ET UFO ghetto, because we were a big problem for them. We knew all the questions to ask. We knew a lot about this subject. And if they engaged us, we could ask those hard questions. And that would have put them in a tough spot because they have to follow within certain guidelines. So they picked very carefully. And when you look at all the interviews, they went to Nick Pope. He's in the ET ghetto, whether he believes it or not, but nevertheless, he has this background with the UK government, and he's pretty sober, kind of solid guy, and so he's safe. And then Leslie Kane, who doesn't think she's in the ET ghetto, and maybe she isn't, and she's attached to the Podesta and has a rep as being straight journalist, and she's written a book and all that. So they did with her. And that makes sense. So you don't see these other people you talked about, including me. They never reached out to me, but I understand why they didn't. So, but they did try to start to engage the ET community, I guess we'll call it, but it didn't go well, and created problems almost right away. And they had to back off of that. And I know enough about that to know that they would like to, that they're sincere. And that they know we exist, and they know what we've done and contributed. But their job right now isn't to make our life their job right now is not to extol us embrace us. Their job is to advance the issue within the protocols that they have to stay within. As this group of former members of the military intelligence community with high classification levels, which they're doing. So what they decided to do was to try to use MUFON as the interface. Jan Harzan has got a background in their world somewhat, in the business world, and they're dealing with him and got a close relationship. And Lewis did speak at the last MUFON International Symposium. But again, even that's been tricky. They're walking a careful line. So I wouldn't criticize them too much for this, because I understand what they're doing and why. Will they reach out to me someday? I think they will. But let me give you an example. Why would they reach out to Steve Bassett? I am a political activist. I answer to nobody. Nobody tells me what to say. I'm aggressive, though not I'm not rabid, but I'm aggressive. And I say what I'm going to say. And if they were to reach out to me, even if it was private, if it was off the record, as we say, to bring me in to just inform me, they can't be certain that I wouldn't then take that and use it as part of my activist outreach. In other words, they have no basis to trust me on its face. They don't know me, and so they haven't reached out, and I'm not surprised at that. I hope at the time is right they will, but for now, I have supported them since the day they arrived, fully. I've read all the criticisms and the various points that have been raised, and none of them are particularly concerning to me. I don't mind that they're being scrutinized. Believe me, after all these years, and given everybody's got a computer now, anything coming out of the government is going to be scrutinized to death. Fair enough. That's okay. And I understand there are people that have a take on it that's negative. That's all right, too. It's all part of the process. What ultimately is important is, will what they're doing help lead to disclosure, which I believe it absolutely will. As I say, it has allowed one billionaire, well-known billionaire, to flat out say there's an ET presence. It would be wonderful if some other well-known billionaires who damn well know there's an ET presence, like Richard Branson or Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk and a couple of billionaire Russian oligarchs, to come out and say the same. But they are reluctant to do that. They know that if they do that, they will be irritating certain people within their military intelligence complex. And they got a pretty good life going for them, and why should they rock the boat? Bigelow did not have that problem, doesn't have that concern. In that sense, he's made history, and he will be richly rewarded by history for that. But you see where things are going. We have made a lot of progress. This current political situation in the United States is an anomaly. It is extremely unusual. Not that these kinds of things haven't happened before. They have. And it's sort of disrupted. This is a big term now. Everybody uses this term. It's disrupted things. Well, a lot of things need disrupting.
It's always good. Yeah, it's always good.
Well, it's not always good. In other words, there's good disruption, there's bad disruption. This idea that any disruption is a good thing. Oh, no. No. I mean, if you're operating a China store or a big China operation.
Oh, yeah.
But your business is not going well, and you need to do some reorganization and some reshuffling of your operation.
Steve, I got to leave you right there. We're going to step out for break.
You don't bring a bullet at the time.
We'll get to it. Stephen Bassett will be back with us right after this break on Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, And what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject, from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Welcome back to the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you with us. We're talking UFO Timelines with Stephen Bassett from ParadigmResearchGroup.org. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get to everything that has kind of happened since that New York Times article. We hit on To the Stars. We hit on the importance of the mainstream media really starting to, almost, I'm not going to say they're fully there, but they're extending their claws into this topic.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like everything just happens on a timeline where all of a sudden it's not taboo to have UFO talk or ET type talk in the mainstream media anymore. I mean, that's a pleasant surprise.
Oh, God, no. Look, most people have most of your listeners have no idea that my Paradigm Research Group, B, was principally responsible for all those articles about Clinton and the election. Those 400 articles. In fact, and they're all linked on my site, but there's also a full section on my site under projects, main projects, about the election, with links to all the videos and then links to all the articles. 120 of those articles referred to me and PRG, including New York Times, all the mainstream papers. But interestingly enough, in spite of 120 mainstream articles talking about my connection to all this, I was never contacted by a single news show to come on and respond. I get that. But I was the one, with the help of my publicist, I had some money and I was in D.C., I had a place to stay, pushing all of that. PRG generated those 400 articles, basically, and forced the Clintons to go public and do some controlled interviews, even though they didn't want to get the story in play. And because she was asked nothing about this during the debates, and because the presidential campaign was such a theory circus, just really highly entertaining, she got away with it. And they stopped addressing the issue on June the 2nd of that year. She thought she had a lock on the White House, and she didn't need to respond anymore, and it was going to be okay. And she was right, basically, except WikiLeaks and the Russians and a bunch of other people stepped in and created chaos in the last 30 days before the election. And the FBI made a dumb mistake, and a lot of other things happened, and lo and behold, she lost. And so she doesn't win. She's not going to disclose, and everything goes up to smoke. But the coverage, if you go, if anybody takes the time to go read those 400 articles, they'll realize, my God, yeah, this ain't 1970 anymore. Read the articles. They were. It was clear that they were more than, if all Clinton had to do was to call up Marine Dowd, who lived one block from where I was meeting in Washington, in Georgetown, with my publicist as we're working all this out. I guess you could say published PR, whatever. The person that addressed the media for me, she's a longtime pro, 40 years in Washington. Marine just lives around the corner. I actually put a letter or note in her mailbox, which is not copacetic. It's not appropriate, but I did it, trying to get her to jump into the issue. She never did. But if Clinton had called up Marine Dowd and said, come on over and interview me, and let her really ask her about these stories that were appearing, and they really got into it and started talking about the Rockefeller Initiative and the stonewalling of her husband, they could have blown this story sky high. But they didn't, because she felt that it would be a risk. She felt that being that authentic, being that direct to the truth, would hurt her. It turns out it was just the opposite. This issue didn't hurt her at all. There is no sign that all of the stuff that came out about her connection to the ET issue cost her any votes at all, and she wasn't attacked by the opposition, which hated her guts and attacked her for, if she blew her nose in an interview, hell, there's a big article in the Daily Caller the next day. No, she made a massive miscalculation. Had she engaged this issue, had she gone with the flow, she'd be the president today. Instead, she tried to play it, just like her husband, played everything in order to get what she wanted. And what she didn't understand is that's not what the people want now. They don't want more. They don't want to be gamed anymore. They want authenticity. I'm not saying that everybody does, and I'm not saying that really inauthentic people are not in power. This is where we are, but there's plenty of people that want to get away from that. And so she lost. So I assure you, the media is spring-loaded to go full bore into this, given the right circumstance. And that could happen at any time. And I should mention, and this is very important, that one of the reasons that the True to Stars Academy went ahead and launched in October of 2017, even though it was political chaos, it wasn't just because there was some toothpaste out of the tube and they couldn't put it back. It was also because, and I've gone to great lengths to ensure they were aware of this, I mean great lengths, that they're not the only game in town, and that if they were concerned that Clinton was going to disclose on obtaining the White House, then they would be holding a bag, the military intelligence complex. I assure you they're every bit as concerned that Putin might disclose. And they'd really be holding the bag, 2 bags, 3 bags. So they've got a Putin problem. And as it happens, in May of 2017, just before Bigelow made his statement on 60 Minutes, which is not connected, but that's the timing, I went to Moscow and gave an interview to REN TV, one of the national networks in Russia, the Russian Federation. And in that interview, I talked about politics, exopolitics, Putin, and disclosure. And I raised the issue of Putin being the disclosure president. Part of this interview was used in, but not that part, but some used in one of their shows. They deal with the shows just like we do. They got their versions. Very good shows, by the way. But I gave 6 interviews while I was there. 6 interviews. I met with 6 groups of former Soviet and Russian people, staff, military, and what have you, that are involved in the issue. Just a little get to know. And I did all this to make sure that the CIA and the Kremlin knew I was there. And I tell you, I'm sure they did. And to find out what Putin's reaction would be. Would he block the interview from being used? Would he block me from getting the English version of it? Would the media cover it? What would happen? Would I be able to leave Russia? I mean, would I end up, as a roommate with Edward Snowden? And what happened is none of that happened. What happened is I got the interview, and Pravda.ru wrote 2 stories about my being there and calling for Putin to disclose. And the message was clear. Putin is not uncomfortable with that idea being out there. And since the CIA knew I was there, the TTS boy knew I was there. And so, again, they realized, Bassett is crazy. He keeps talking about Putin being the disclosure president. What if he is? And I think that's why they had to announce. They couldn't hold off. They couldn't wait. Because remember, during this period, Putin was being savaged by everybody as being absolutely committed to disrupting the United States and everything it stands for, upsetting our apple carts, pulling the rug out from under us in all kinds of ways, which I happen to think is true. And so the idea that he would disclose and really upset our apple cart was hardly a stretch. And so that's what they're dealing with. So the Putin factor is quite significant. And another reason why this whole thing can't last much longer, barring a nuclear war, another major war in the Middle East, or some other massive screw-up. I'm optimistic.
Well, let me ask you this. Why hasn't Putin pulled the trigger then? He's a rebel. He's somebody who is rogue. He likes to do it himself. Why not just pull the trigger? Get it out in the open. Are they hiding as much secrets as the U.S. government that they don't want it released, or is there some kind of world pact on this?
That's not a world pact, but look, the interview that I gave in Russia is on my website. It's on the top page. You scroll on down to the videos. I have pieces of it. They're all in sections. I don't think I have the whole thing in one section. Maybe I'll do that. I definitely have it on my YouTube channel. Paradigm Research Group has a YouTube channel, and the full interview, it's in one whole piece is there. But in this interview, I actually say to the journalist that if I had just 5 minutes with Vladimir Putin, the one thing I would ask him is, why hasn't he disclosed? And there are a number of possibilities. One, Russia does have a substantial need to sell their huge oil and gas resources. And Putin certainly is aware that there is ET technology that could ultimately, if it were fully engaged, replace fossil fuels. So that would not right away. So that's a consideration. Two, he's built a much more authoritarian state, and he's in his mind, he's not clear how disruptive this would be. In other words, his ability to keep the people focused on him and as the leader, and his image and his charisma, when they've just learned there's ETs all over the friggin' galaxy, he's not sure if that would be a good thing. So there's that. 3, the U.S. may be way ahead even, of Russia in re-engineering, back-engineering ET technology. Because we got more vehicles or what have you. Again, it's like the ET technology race, arms race, the atom bomb race, whatever you want to call it. And if that's true, and Putin pulled the rug out from under us, okay, every disclosure would all be out in the open. But for doing that, the U.S. might make it much more difficult for Russia to get access to that technology. That's a possibility. And I can imagine a few other things. But there's a huge amount of upside for him. I mean, my Lord, he'd be on the world stage. He'd be number one. He'd be the talk of the planet. Russia would be significantly enhanced. There'd be a lot of scrutiny on him, but there's already a lot of scrutiny on him. I think the guy's got major problems. I think he's gotten some journalists murdered. I think he's acquired a vast amount of wealth. All of this is awkward and unfortunate because he had the potential for quite a legacy historically, and I think he may have damaged that legacy, but he's still going to have a hell of a legacy. But again, this is $64,000 question. Vladimir, why haven't you disclosed? And guess what? I just asked him again. I've given, as you know, I don't know, 1,200, 1,300. I don't know how many interviews. It's a big number. More than anybody else in this field, living or dead. Not bragging. I got lucky. I started just as the internet era was beginning, and I embraced internet radio. I knew how important it was, and I just did shows. I do shows with zero notice. There are only very few shows that I wouldn't do, but there have been a couple I wouldn't do because they were crazy. But so I've done 1,200, 1,300 interviews. Nobody's done that many interviews. And the reason that's important is while the vast majority of all my interviews are on internet radio. CNN and MSNBC stopped calling me back 2008. I mean, because I kept telling the truth when I came on the air and not apologizing. And they go, oh, crap. Of course, now, but now, why they're not calling me now, it's interesting. But in any event, but the thing is, when I do an internet interview, most of them are archived. They're archived on the sites or elsewhere. And they create hyperlinks, Google hyperlinks. And so this has established a huge presence for my work on the net. It doesn't matter whether the audience was 10 people or 10,000 people. You go on and do a little something on CNN. Now it tends to get archived, though it used to be. It just disappeared into nowhere. So I don't know how many times I have talked about Putin being the disclosure president, but it's hundreds of times. And it's then archived and sitting on the net. If you did a Google search on Stephen Bassett Putin, both on Google and on YouTube, you'd see a lot of this. I assure you that the CIA and the military intelligence complex fully aware that I'm doing that. And because that's where you talk to them. I can't go knock on their doors. They don't invite me over for lunch. So I talk to them through the media. And nobody has done more to raise that issue than I have. And it's a pretty important issue. I used to talk about Xi Jinping too, but I dropped him off the list because whereas Putin is dealing with about 150 million people, Xi Jinping is dealing with 1.5 billion. He has got a much bigger management problem, and he's also gone authoritarian. And so I just don't think he just needs that problem. He doesn't need that hassle.
Right.
But right. Putin is ideal for it. He's the perfect guy to do this.
Steve, we got about 6 minutes here before we have to go to our break at the top of the hour, and I want to hit you up on the Sunspot Observatory in
Fire away.
There's a lot of people. The official story is they shut down the observatory and the area around it because there was somebody watching child porn on a computer.
No, I think it was more than that. It was more than that.
Yeah,
it was more than just watching child porn on a computer. They had a child pornography guy. Nailed hard, and they were going to close in on him.
But on the flip side, there is us tinfoil conspiracy theorists who believe that, combined with this one, there were apparently 6 other observatories around the world that were shut down at the same time, people believing that there was something seen around the sun that they didn't want anybody to get to. Right. Do you buy the official story, or do you believe there is some sort of cover-up because maybe these tracking devices, these observatories, were actually seeing something that they didn't want getting into the public eye?
I buy the official story. First of all, I've not seen any evidence about other observatories being shut down at the same time. If I saw that, it would be interesting. You can't imagine how many solar observatories there are, so you'd have to shut down a hell of a lot more than 6 in order to put the lid on that. So this is look. After 71 years, we're all on pins and needles. We're all hypersensitive, and so anything that happens, we swoop in via the internet and look it over really careful. And we're looking for any sign of something developing that could BT connected. I get that. That's fine. And I want the government to know that. Right. Anything you do, we're on it. And the internet does what it does. The child pornography thing, or just having to close in on somebody and trying to make sure that nobody gets hurt, is not unreasonable and it's not illogical. But the other stuff is more entertaining. But no, I don't see it. It doesn't make any sense. I think this is just what it was. One down.
Let's move on. Yeah, what about Oumuamua? The Harvard and Smithsonian Institute report came out saying this may have been an alien probe. What's your thoughts?
I only got an excerpt of that. Look, as far as I know, they may have raised the possibility that it could be, which is possible. But I'm not aware that Harvard has put out anything that says we assess that that's what it was. Absolutely not. It's not unreasonable for anybody writing about it to say, could it be an alien probe? It was unusual because it was an out of solar object coming through. So the first time that we've ever been able to confirm one of those. And it was oddly shaped. Well, yeah, that's not, I mean, it's a little unusual, but it's hardly striking. So, yeah, my take on it is simple. It's a rock. But my question is, why is it Hawaiian? I never got that. But apparently it's an Hawaiian rock. So we had some fun with that. It's moved on. No big deal.
That seems pretty blunt.
Yeah. I'm not, believe me, I'm a pretty straightforward, skeptical, ground earth guy. You wouldn't believe the list of stuff I don't buy into. That's why I'm able to keep saying. The internet now is filled with, the internet has created an arena where the amount of theories is just legion. And the facts are all scattered around. And we haven't figured out how to, let me put it this way. You really have to work hard to navigate it and not have a nervous breakdown. And there's a lot of that going around, and now it's being weaponized. So, but what can I say? It's only been around 25 years, 27 years, and it's one of the greatest technologies of all time. It's like, in a way, it's like the cosmos handed everybody an atom bomb and said, do your thing. So there's a lot of nonsense and crap, and I get it, and it's creating problems, and I get it. If you happen to get a nice education and learn a little logic and use the internet in a responsible way, it's the most powerful tool to learn about stuff in the world, ever, history. But it's also the most powerful propaganda tool in history. It's the most powerful hoaxing tool in history. But it's also entertaining. Fortunately for me, I just don't succumb to that stuff, which has helped to keep me grounded. I wish the New York Times had a better appreciation of that, but they did do a nice article, about me back in May of 2016. So maybe I'll get another. Yeah. So anyway, no problem there. What's next?
What's next is we're going to take a break here at the top of the hour here, Steve. As when we come back from the break, I am going to hit you up on the sightings last week by some pilots, professional commercial pilots from Ireland seeing UFOs.
Yeah, that's another matter altogether.
Absolutely, and we'll get to that after the break. Stephen Bassett is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We got him for another 30 minutes here on the show. ParadigmResearchGroup.org is his website. We're talking UFO Timeline on the mighty SOR. Continues after this.
Come hang out with Spaced Out Radio, where we own the night. This is Carl. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and during the show, use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio to chat with us live. On Instagram, at Dave Scott SOR. On Facebook, give our page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. SOR archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. Come join us, or I will come join you. See you at your window.
At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot THAL. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is Watching.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. Tomorrow night on the program, Gordon Lohr joins us. We're talking UFO technology and the science behind it. We get going at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. We want to welcome back everyone listening in on the SOR Radio Network and Deep Talk Radio. Don't forget, all of our archives are free on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Hemi Demi Semi Quaver. Hemi Demi Sevi Quaver is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets a password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot. Soon, shop at our brand new Spaced Out Radio store, which is being built as we speak. And all of our news is provided by the glorious, beautiful, and talented Captain Shirk, the SOR Newswire. Go to our website, click on the news banner. It's all right there. For the final time tonight, we introduce Stephen Bassett from ParadigmResearchGroup.org. He is a lobbyist for UFO and ET disclosure, more extraterrestrial disclosure instead of UFOs. I'm going to correct myself there because Stephen corrected me last hour about that. Stephen, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Back in 1989, Japan Airlines Flight 1680 came across a UFO mothership about a mile to 2 miles long, and on their way from the U.S. to Japan. And those pilots were subsequently suspended for going public with it.
For a while.
Yeah, for a while. And then earlier this week, 29 years later, 30 years later, we have Virgin Airlines pilots coming out saying that they saw a UFO and the lights, and they described it perfectly, something that they had never seen before. And it is mainstream news, no suspensions, no nothing. Are we seeing a real shift here in the attitude towards pilots being now able to admit that they've seen strange anomalies in the sky?
Absolutely. Most of the last 70 years, as the truth embargo started to settle in and become more structured in the 50s, 60s, 1950s, 1960s, the commercial airlines basically told their pilots, if you see something, don't talk about it. If you do, we'll fire you. And the military pilots were told, If you see something, don't talk about it. If you do, I mean, you talk to us. You can report it to us, but you don't talk publicly. We'll take away your flight status. And so they shut up. And it was because of that many of them, because he became known for doing research in this area, would take their reports to Richard Haynes, who was working at NASA, and he created this huge database of pilot reports, some of which I think include names and some of which have names changed or redacted, which is a huge piece of evidence that should get more exposure than it does, but whatever. And that's the way it was. The Japan sighting, which was one of the most important sightings, and there's testimony about that, not only through Stephen Greer's work, but also the Citizen Hearing on Disclosure has testimony on that sighting. citizenhearingdisclosure.org. So that's important. The truth embargo had to do that. You just can't have pilots, military pilots and civilian pilots that are pretty high-level people talking to media about, gee, what I saw, and they've seen some pretty extraordinary things. Okay, that's all changing, not surprisingly. And we've got two recent examples. First of all, when the New York Times article about David Fravor and the interception of a UAP near the Nimitz back in 2004. Here you got a military pilot being interviewed. Now, he's retired, admittedly, but he's being interviewed by the New York Times. And I think there was another pilot, one of the other pilots was also interviewed, Slate. And it's all good, no problem. Okay, fine. And now we have another example. This event is interesting. And there's a lot of coverage. I would refer people to the New York Times article about it of just 2 days ago. I said New York Times. I mean Washington Post. Washington Post, written by Clive Woodson 2 days ago. The Washington Post has got a troubled history with this issue. They've really struggled with it. They've done some good things. Well, it's the political paper of record in Washington. And if the Washington Post were to cross up the military intelligence complex on the ET issue, their sources might just dry up. Suddenly, there's nobody at the Pentagon who wants to talk to them. They're in a really awkward position. So they've played ball on this one. Oh, they've challenged the government. I assure you that challenging the Nixon administration over the Watergate break-in was trivial compared to challenging the military intelligence complex on the ET issue and suddenly getting behind disclosure. So they've written some pretty stupid articles over the years and stood down by and large. But that's changing. It's getting better. So let's look at this article. Now, let me say that based on what I've seen, and given the fact we're in the middle of the Perseid meteor shower, that these are very likely meteors. Okay, fine. So let's say that's the case. What's important here is the amount of coverage of it and the fact that the pilots were speaking publicly. Apparently there's no problem there. And that's just going to send a message to other pilots. You can start talking now. Because I tell you, some of these pilots see stuff a lot more interesting than these lights that flash by here, which were probably meteors. So in the Washington Post article, the first part of it is all about describing the exact incident and so forth. And they go down there. Everything is straight, reportage. It's all good. And then we get to this kind of break where it shifts. And it starts here. It says, the Irish Aviation Authority said the reports will be investigated under normal confidential occurrence investigation process, quote unquote. But for many people who read between the classified lines, there was no need. We already know the truth. Mm-hmm. This is normally the point at which chortling naysayers who shout their disbelief. After all, for decades, the public had been told that aliens don't actually exist and that people who believe otherwise were crackpots in tinfoil hats. But in an emission straight out of a B movie, the Pentagon recently confirmed that there was a $22 million government program to collect and analyze anomalous aerospace threats. Government speak for UFOs. And Area 51, the secret base in Nevada, whose existence had been denied by the government for decades, has existed for decades. The government admitted. It was a test trip for a CIA spy plane and other classified aircraft, according to a CIA history declassified in 2013. And because the government had a giant secret base in the Nevada desert, it used the area for all kinds of secret testing, putting the A-12 aircraft and the angular F-117 stealth ground attack jet through their paces. So who needs a tinfoil hat now? That mission lent a patina of viability to a century of bizarre, unexplained phenomena. This is the Washington Post basically saying, yeah, we know it's real and we're doing our thing here. We're covering it, but we're only going to go so far. But we're putting it out there. We're putting the stories up. We're putting links because obviously, remember, modern journalism is not on paper. It's online. And stories have links to all kinds of stuff. So a single story is far bigger than it used to be. And so they have links to the Area 51 stuff. They have links to, of course, the Stars Academy ATIP announcement. And then they have links to other stories down below. Read more. The government admits it studies UFOs. So how about Area 51 conspiracies? And so forth. So here you're seeing the shift. So you can only expect that more pilots are going to be willing to come forward. Maybe the New York Times will interview Richard Haynes and do a full story on the huge 3,500, 4,000 pilot sightings he has in his pilot database that he collected over decades. Military pilots apparently are going to start to think, well, maybe I should talk about this. Remember, the Nimitz event happened in 2004. Fravor didn't come forward right away. It leaked out in the UFO ET community, knew about it, and there was some stuff written about it. But the pilots didn't come forward. That was 2004. This is 14 years later. So what happens if more commercial and military pilots start coming forward? Truth embargo is going to take a heavy hit. Its days are numbered. It will end. It is absolutely inevitable. And only a number of complex and sometimes crazy circumstances and serious circumstances have prevented it. And one of the most important was this. The Disclosure Project, that was Greer's major effort back in the 90s, culminated with the 2001 National Press Club press conference, huge press conference held in the ballroom, the same ballroom where I held the citizen hearing on disclosure. He had, I think, 18 witnesses there up on a long table that gave a few minutes of their testimony to, a huge room of reporters, cameras. He had about 70 more witnesses or so, excerpts from 100 hours of testimony that were other witnesses that were on video or VHS. And he provided that to the media as well. And one of those tapes was given to me. I gave it to a fellow who works for Ted Koppel, and he walked it straight over to Ted Koppel at ABC News. And Koppel watched some of it. Later, we got word back that they maybe wanted to interview some. Well, they wanted to interview some of these witnesses. And see where that could have gone. Things were happening. It was May of 2001. I was very optimistic, excited. And then 4 months later, some planes hit the World Trade Center. Not long after that, we launched the most disastrous, catastrophic war, and maybe in American history, in terms of its ultimate consequences and costs. And then, of course, is the Second Iraq War, which became the Afghanistan War, which became the Syrian War and the Libyan War and whatever. And that created a wave, or it enhanced a massive wave of terrorism toward the United States, and changed politics. All of that squashed the disclosure processes, the disclosure movement. Squashed them. And I'm not going to bitch about it too much, because while it held back the process and held back achieving what I've set out to do, which is to bring about disclosure, probably 1.5 million people have died directly or indirectly in the Middle East because of our wars there. And those that aren't died are often living in squalor, at the mercy of terrorists, homes gone, schools gone, and they're fleeing to other countries which hate them, and that's destabilizing governments and creating the rise of right-wing parties. Chaos reigns. Film at 11. That's the nature of history. It's a bitch. You're some genius working on some fantastic stuff way back in Alexandria, Egypt, and you're really feeling good about it. And the library burns down, and you have to go off somewhere and herd sheep. History is complicated, vicious, tricky, and if you're an activist, you have to go with it and just wear it out. The movement in South Africa towards hopefully a integrated country and the end of suppression was moving forward, and then they cracked down. Mandela went to prison and slowly waited it out. Took a long time. He came back, and now they're where they are.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
With pilots today, I mean, David Fravor obviously is not the only military pilot to say this or to say publicly that he's seen something. And we do know that the military pilots are on alert 24/7 with UFO sightings. I mean, I have that from an RCMP source here in British Columbia.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But when we're looking at it, how come after David Fravor came out then, do you think that many other pilots haven't come forward in saying, I've seen something similar? I mean, this would have been a prime opportunity, and we are 10 months into this since Fravor came out publicly, and we haven't heard a thing.
Well, first of all, very few military pilots have come forward. Secondly, Fravor came forward within the context of a sophisticated program backed up by people within the military intelligence complex as part of a structured effort called the To the Stars Academy. This is a pretty solid situation. Some pilot off on a flight line somewhere saying, oh, wow, yeah, I got something too, and running down to some local newspaper. That's not the same thing. It's still not. I think the policy is still, you're not supposed to talk about it. I mean, I think that is still the policy in American Air Force, Naval Air. But I'm just saying that it's loosening it up. It's changing. But don't expect a bunch of guys who are going to run forward and say, oh, yeah, me too. No. And Fravor was retired, by the way. Now, again, there have been some retired pilots, too, that have come forward. And if you look, you can find this stuff. But really, if the media and the major papers like the Post and the Times, if they make it really favorable for these pilots. Look, the New York Times could decide to do a huge story on pilot sightings. And believe me, there's a huge amount of material out there. And they could really raise this up, this whole pilot thing up to several levels. But they haven't done it. So it's an interactive process. And then, secondly, on the airline pilots, they're in a better position because they are civilians, and it's not national security. So there's going to be more loosening there. In other words, more papers are going to be willing to address and interview pilots that they hear something has happened. And I guess because there's so much scrutiny and everybody's on the internet and everybody picks everything up, if a pilot sees something, it gets out. Right? It just simply gets out, and they're drawn into the story. So you're going to see more action from the civilian side than you are from the military side. But one of the other things that happened with the To the Stars Academy coming out, which people need to constantly be reminded, it wasn't just David Fravor. The To the Stars Academy released 3 gun camera footages of UAP intercepts, declassified by the Pentagon and given to Luis Elizondo to be brought out, which says a great deal. These were the first formally released gun camera footages of UAP intercepts ever released. Now, That's really profound, because the United States government has thousands of videos. And by the way, the videos that were released are just excerpts, short excerpts from the full video. Those haven't been released because they don't want to go too far. But they have thousands of these. In fact, every nation in the world that has a modern Air Force, modern relative to the time, going all the way back to the 1950s, has got camera footage in their vaults of UAP intercepts by their defensive planes. And none of it's been released because and you can't get to it. I mean, no researcher was ever able to get to this stuff. No FOIA could get to it. And the reason for that is quite simple. They have to film those intercepts for national security reasons. So they have to do that. But if they got out, if a significant number of those UAP gun camera footages were to get out, it would blow the cover up, the truth embargo sky high. And so that's been a very significant part of the truth embargo. They must contain and control the gun camera footage. And every country is going along with the U.S. on this, including Russia, including China. They all have gun camera footage. So, and by the way, that's the ultimate proof. When you talk about, well, does another nation know? Yeah, every friggin' nation with an Air Force knows, because they have the UAP intercept gun camera footage showing things that humans can't create. Now, not all of these footages are profound, but plenty of them are. And so, again, you see, it's a global truth embargo. It's all everybody's kind of going along, get along. I get that. But now 3 of those have been released. And the TTS AAS has made it clear they have more. So again, barring some significant world calamity, the door to finally disclosure and ending the truth embargo is pretty open, and we could go through it any time, but it won't be until soonest would be next year. And I would invite all of my Canadian friends who have televisions. I think you have televisions up there. I think you do.
We kind of do.
Yeah.
We still use the rabbit ears.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Let me just say that the next 45 days in American politics will be some of the most extraordinary, entertaining you're ever going to see in your lifetime. So pay attention and join us for the show. Most Canadians kind of understand American politics. I mean, obviously, it's not going to shock anybody. But what's going to happen is kind of fundamental to all politics. But what you're about to see is going to be quite remarkable. And I'll be down here glued to my television set, and I hope that you all watch it. There will be many lessons to be learned. And we'll see where we are on the other side of this 45 days come January 3, 2019.
My friend, we got to start wrapping things up here on the show tonight. I want to say thank you for coming on short notice and being our surprise guest for tonight's show. And you were amazing as per usual, Steve, and I commend you for that. Could you do me a favor and let everybody know where they can find more information about you and the Paradigm Research Group? ParadigmResearchGroup.org. Or Google my name, Stephen Bassett. Comes right up. It's the top link. There's a huge amount there to cite. There's also a contribution section, and there's a link to a GoFundMe. Need some support here. And there's links in I'm a very, supportive in my work. There are just links on that site all over the place. But good links and a lot of resources. So spend some time there. You'd be amazed what's there. And there's more coming. Particularly the last blog piece, which is the what I call a report going forward on disclosure and the status of disclosure. You may find that interesting. And lastly, wonderful.
If I'm amazing, and I'm not gonna fight you on this, just tell lots of lovely single Canadian women that how amazing I am. Just asking.
We will do that, my friend. Stephen Bassett, thank you so much for coming on the show. Coming up next, we got Ola Phillips from Paranoia Magazine with the news of the night on the SOR News Wow. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch. Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month. Bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything is an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
TalkStream Live is always on 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. We've rounded third. We are headed for home tonight as we bring you the news on the SOR News Wire that is coming on up. Now, we've given Olive the night off tonight. He had some things to take care of with his children. But nonetheless, the news is always changing, so we definitely got to get to the news. The big question is, do we play the theme song or do we not when Olive is here? I think we do. Yeah, let's do it. What the heck? Just doesn't sound the same when we don't. The news is always changing on a daily basis, and we try to bring you the weird, the wacky, the WTF of the news of the night right here on the SOR Newswire. Why? Well, because it just seems like the right thing to do. So with that, we're going to get to it right now. So up here in British Columbia, we got a couple of weird stories that have come out that I think you will really, really enjoy. Number one, Harrison Hot Springs here in British Columbia is a fantastic area for vacationing. It's like a summer and winter solstice right in the back hills. But the one thing that Harrison Hot Springs also recognizes is their love of Sasquatch. Now, for years, they actually put on a big Sasquatch festival annually because there were so many darn sightings of the big hairy creature. And what they were doing was, like if you walk down Harrison Hot Springs, which is about an hour and a half east of Vancouver, it's nestled in the mountains. There's hills all over the place. And they have had a multitude of sightings, led by the Chehalis First Nations band, and some of the great stories that have come out of there. So what they are doing in order to get back into that, because they've taken a few years off, is they are doing a Christmas Bigfoot theme this year. And with that, it's a Sasquatch-themed Festival of Lights. I think this is going to be interesting. So what they are doing is they're decorating the entire town, which is literally one main strip, in Christmas lights, all going to be Sasquatch-themed. The resort, which features hot springs, of course, which gets the water up to around 150 degrees Fahrenheit, pretty warm. They are going to have their Sasquatch statues, I can't even speak, Sasquatch candy canes, seasonal Sasquatches wearing Christmas hats, and it's all free to the public. Now, this is what I talk about when a lot of these towns that have weird experiences really need to embrace the weird. They totally do. The reason why is it's a great tourist attraction. They even have a Sasquatch museum there where you could go look at footprints, photographs, historic stories. People like Renee DeHinden used to hang out there because it is just so darn active. So they're going to have Sasquatch Christmas lights and people dressed up in Sasquatch outfits walking around town. And this starts up on November 24th. So I think that's going to be really, really cool. So if you're in British Columbia or Washington State, or you're traveling this way, go check out the Harrison Hot Springs Sasquatch edition to the season. It's going to be a lot of fun. Here's another weird British Columbia story that has come out. Now, this one should make you laugh. 2 Vancouver men today were accused of ripping off a grocery store in the city of Coquitlam, British Columbia. They stole more than $1,400 worth of butter. Yes, butter. Who does that? Seriously. Cheese, meat, baby formula, Fruit Loops, bananas. Think about that for a second. $1,400 worth of butter. A 23-year-old and a 25-year-old have facing charges now of theft under $5,000, and more charges could be on the way. I mean, don't we hear about these types of stories out of Florida all the time? And the weirdest part about it is they are also suspect in at least 3 other butter theft incidents around Metro Vancouver. Now, the RCMP are saying that this might be because food is becoming a very, very hot commodity on the black market, especially meat and cheese, and anything to do with babies, baby formula, diapers, so on and so forth. Or the other possibility, which hasn't been released, is maybe they work for a restaurant company that supplies butter. But how weird is that? Could you imagine, you get a record for stealing butter? I don't get it. I really don't get it. It amazes me. I guess anybody will steal anything because there's profit in absolutely everything. But that's weird, man. That is absolutely weird. $1,400 $1,500 plus in butter stolen. How do you smuggle it out? Do you go through the back door? Do you go through the front door? I mean, there's cameras in these places. There's mystery shoppers shoppers that are security guards dressed up. How do you not get busted? It's ridiculous. Is that worth a Darwin Award? I think so. Here's the story tonight that really, really upsets me. Very much, this one upsets me. Do you remember the story, and you can go to spacedoutradio.com or onto our Facebook page, because we're just updating our website again. Go to our Facebook page, and you can check out this story by Captain Shirk. Do you remember that couple from New Jersey where the wife was driving home from work? She ran out of gas, allegedly. And a homeless man came up to her and said, "Hey, keep your doors locked, stay in your vehicle. I will go get you some gas. This is a bad area. We don't want anything to happen to you." And he spent his last $20 on getting her a jerry can full of gas so she could get home. Well, so inspired by Johnny Bobbitt's gratitude and graciousness, Kate McClure, the stranded motorist, and her boyfriend Mark D'Amico set up a GoFundMe account to raise money for Bobbitt, who is allegedly a military veteran who'd fallen on hard times coming back from the war, got into drugs, and just couldn't keep a job. Well, they set up a GoFundMe account that raised over $400,000 after their story went viral online. Over 14,000 people donated to this. And now we're finding out that it is a complete scam. That Johnny Bobbitt, McClure, and D'Amico were all in it together. Now, about a month ago, we heard that Bobbitt was raising a little bit of ire in the media because he had proclaimed that McClure and D'Amico hadn't given him the money that was raised from the GoFundMe account that he was going to be using to go get clean and set up a new life for himself. Nah, they're all together. They're all in cahoots. Burlington County authorities today said that they have placed charges for soliciting contributions and others in conspiracy and theft by deception, because all three of them were pushing pretty hard to rip off public generosity. Now, Bobbitt did get about 75 grand of that, 400 grand, but he didn't see it all. Now, GoFundMe, obviously they have insurance on this stuff. They will be paying back everyone who donated. And I'm sure that they're going to probably liquidate the assets of all three of them to try and get as much money back as possible. Now, of course, the couple's attorney is not saying anything. He's got no comment at this time. But yeah, it's sad that people would do this. It's easy to do it, especially when people in the news are looking for good stories, helpful stories, stories that make them tear up, that they can emotionally connect to. But this is just going way too far. Way too far. It's ridiculous. There are people out there who need those donations, whether it's for cancer, medical bills that, we all know in the U.S., especially, that the bills are ridiculous. Parents who can't afford to get their child's surgery, which I still don't quite understand, coming from a healthcare nation. But if this is the case, I mean, Dale brings up a good point in the chat room. They are innocent until found guilty. But how many people are now, because of this story, and it's gone viral, how many people now are not going to donate to people who are in dire need because they'll have this on their minds? And we're a headline society now. Let's remember that. We're a headline society. So it's very interesting to see what's going to happen here. Very interesting to see what's going to happen here over the next few months. We got to continue to watch this story because of the fact that we got to be careful. Be careful who you donate your money to. Do a little bit of research. And it's hard on GoFundMe because you're basically going off a few paragraphs and maybe a video. But I wonder how many people are not going to donate now because of this. It's pretty sad. Let's get to the thought of the day, shall we? Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we post a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, and then we read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. So today's Thought of the Day is as followed. What is the mainstream public and media missing about the UFO subject? Deep question, is it not? Kind of ties into Stephen Bassett. Chris says that the stories are made up and the facts don't matter. Kind of deep. Cutting it deep right off the bat there, Chris. John, they, in brackets, the mainstream media, don't ask the right questions, nor do they talk to the right people when it comes to the topic. They need to be talking to folks like Richard Dolan. I agree with that. Love or hate Richard Dolan, and I'm a fan of his. There is a lot of people, and we brought this up with Steve tonight, a lot of people out there who have not been interviewed on this subject by the mainstream. I would like to see more of that. However, you know my opinion of that. The mainstream does not want to cover this topic. Not for political reasons, not that they've been intruded on in their newsrooms. There's no CIA or government official sitting in every newsroom saying, oh, you can't run that. No, the journalists are just fickle and stubborn. News directors especially. David, that all the woo propagated by some in ufology notwithstanding, the hard reality is that we are being electronically assimilated by our own devices to facilitate colonization, and that millions of hybrids bred from abductees are already living and working among us. Well, that takes it to a whole new level, doesn't it? Heidi, the ability to disseminate truth from woo and the determination to find the properly informed people to talk to. The people are out there. The journalists just are not doing their due diligence. Because, like I said to you before, To the Stars handed David Fravor and Luis Elizondo to the media. Easy story, softball questions. We got the two. Why get the other side when we got the two main players? It's kind of the way it works. Robin, the UFO subject completely. This is never talked about in Chicago. Michael Huntington, who's been a guest on this show, that there are legitimate unknown phenomena worthy of study buried under all of the exploitation and sensationalism and hoaxing, and that ufology is potentially a legitimate multidisciplinary field of study with a history and influences that intersect all other disciplines. I think that sums it up. Where do we go with that? Andrew, that we might be talking about family. The ancient traditions consistently describe the gods as our teachers, and they left us. Perhaps what we're seeing is a return of our great-great-great-great-great-grandmothers, and it's going to be another step forward into a higher level of everything when it happens. Or, like when the conquistadors arrived in the New World, things could go quite sideways. Eugene, what they are missing is hard evidence. Gail, they are missing the bridge of evidence between the silly movies, TV shows, and comics from the 1950s forward to the reality of spacecraft abduction and visitation of today. Nails it right there. Debbie, the truth. Everything about what's going on that many are clueless about. Tim Weisberg, been a guest on this show. Today's thought of the Tim. Who actually owns the night? Can't really go there. Can't really go there right now. Little Richie Giordano from Goof On. It's missing Little Richie G and the Goof On train. Absolutely. Ad gnome, this guy, and he posts a picture of me with gnomes all around me. I'm wearing gnome ears and a gnome hat. And he says, because gnome. Reverend Keith, they are missing two questions. Why are things being released and shown now? Who is behind these decisions, both past and present? John, the mainstream public and the media are missing that there is a legitimate phenomenon going on here. Too many people are quick to brush off the phenomenon as hoaxes and delusional people seeing things. While I don't deny this is the case, sometimes there are things going on which cannot be explained. Jade, they are missing all the reports and stories from the alternative media. Bingo. Cousin Gary, they're missing what the government knows. Michelle Deschamps, been a good guest on this show a couple of times. Physical evidence. Michael, also been a guest. Freehawk Polani. They won't acknowledge that there's intelligent beings navigating these craft. Another guest, John Edmonds. Folks need to learn about how to collect data when reporting sightings of UFOs. Data without substantiation is pretty useless. We're going to end it right there. Thank you so much to Stephen Bassett coming on in on short notice for a great show tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Really appreciate him. Don't forget, you can find all of our news at spacedoutradio.com. Go click on the news section. That's where we're hiding it all. Tomorrow night on the program, Gordon Lohr joins us. We're going to be talking about the science of UFO technology. It's going to be real interesting indeed. 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, in your cars, at work, wherever you may be. Thank you to everybody in the chat rooms and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. You're doing it right. You're getting us bigger and better every single night. Because our slogan is, together, my friends, we own the night. I'll talk to you in 21 hours from now. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Good night.